So let's get started with current electricity. I hope all are here. Okay. See, all of you, current electricity is something all of us experienced. And we have some notion of current electricity. I guess most of us, our understanding of current electricity could be either in terms of battery or what you say, the power socket. So in case of battery, what do you understand in terms of current electricity? If anything you connect across the terminals of the battery, current will flow. So if we apply potential difference across a conductor or any device, current starts flowing. So that also, I think that interpretation is more at the macro level. Some part correct, some part may not be exactly correct. Okay, let's try to understand. So what makes when we connect a battery? What is the role of the battery? Battery, when you connect two terminals of battery, until the terminals are connected, even if you have a wire, also current is not flowing. But the moment you connect a battery, it's a potential difference. And potential difference between 2 points, necessarily there has to be field also acting between 2 points. So either potential difference we can think of, or we can think of field. Presence of field leads to current electricity. And our general notion is current is flowing through the wire, which is not necessarily best way to understand. You just look at if water is flowing in the pipe. We say water is flowing in the pipe. But perhaps a better way to understand, if you take any cross section of the pipe, water is flowing across the cross section. Similarly, when we talk about current electricity also, what is the current flowing through a wire? Not through the wire. What you should think of? Charge is flowing through a cross section of the wire. If charge is moving from one side to other, it means there is a flow of charge, there is a current electricity. So only thing what one part, okay, there's a potential difference, there's a field, there's a current electricity. In the wire, no, it is across the cross section. And let's go into more detail how the current electricity flows and its a definition and other basic parts. Okay. Let's start with some simpler definitions. Okay. What is current electricity? There's a net transfer of charge from one side of area to other. We are not talking about wire. We are talking about if I take a cross section, is there any current to the cross section? I check if there's a net transfer of charge from one side to other, then there's electric current to the area. We are talking current through the area, and all cross section, if current is same, then we can say entire the conductor, the current is same. Okay, but actually it is through an area. How do you carry net transfer? So we can also think of, suppose a door frame. Door frame also is an area. How would the current flow? If the charge moves from one side of door to other side of door, there is a net transfer of charge, and that will lead to current. So, and there has to be net charge. Suppose a person walks in through the door. If there is transfer of charge, a person is composed of a lot of electrons and a lot of protons. When he crosses through, all electrons and all protons cross from one side to the other. The number of protons and number of electrons are equal. Net transfer is zero. So what you're looking at is a net transfer of charge. So let's try and understand better what it means. First thing what you need to pay attention to is through an area. Let's see in terms of figure. Conventionally, the direction of current is defined as in the direction of most of the positive charge. If positive charge moves from A to B, direction is current from A to B. But if negative charge moves from A to B, direction current is opposite. Okay, so direction current is opposite to direction of motion of negative charge. That's how we define sign, convention of which direction the current goes. Okay. Now let's take an area. So this is something to understand. This is an area A. Let's say, what does the current charge transfer mean? So suppose this charge plus Q. Initially, it was on the one side A of the area, and from there it moves to the other side. So what if it has moved? How much charge transfer has taken place? dq charge transfer has taken from A to B. It means during a time interval, it has moved from one side to the other. Charge transfer is plus dq from A to B. Similarly, let's take one more. Okay, let's take other case. Again, A to B. In this case, charge is minus dq dash. Magnitude are not same. It's a negative charge. Negative charge moves from A to B. So first case, positive charge has moved from A to B. Direction of current is from A to B. Now negative charge is moving from side A to B. What is the direction of current? Not A to B now. The direction of current is from B to A. That's what this convention defines. The direction of current is in the direction of positive charge, the direction of motion of positive charge, or opposite to direction of motion of negative charge. And how do you define current? Current is the rate at which charge transfer takes place. If charge transfer is delta Q, it will not happen in zero time. It will take some time. The time is small. So if we talk about average current, average and instantaneous values are similar to what we have come across right from the first chapter of kinematics. Average value when time is significant, instantaneous value when the time approaches zero. Okay, so average current is delta Q by delta T. So that's a current through an area, rate of transfer of charge from one side to other. And this ratio is actually coulombs per second. Coulombs per second is called amperes. So what is 1 ampere current? If through a cross section, if 1 ampere current is flowing, what does it mean? If I take any cross section, in 1 second, 1 coulomb charge is getting transferred from one side to other. I'll repeat again. What is our understanding of ampere? If I take any wire, or it could be any shape of conductor or any cross section. If current is 1 ampere through a cross section here, what does it mean? In 1 second, if direction of current is like this, in 1 second, 1 coulomb transfer, 1 coulomb charge gets transferred from one side to the other side. Other point what you need to remember, though it has a sense of direction, it is still a scalar quantity. We'll understand because for any quantity to qualify as a vector quantity, it needs to satisfy two conditions. Two conditions are: one, it must have sense of direction, and second, it must obey law of vector addition. What vector addition means, the sum depends on the angle between the quantity. If we add two quantity, in case of current, what happens? Just try to visualize. If there are two wires, we'll come to that more in detail later. One side, this is the current flowing through the cross section. The wire is I1. The other wire current flowing through is I2, and both of them come and join at one point, and this is the third wire. So what is happening? Incoming current is I1 plus I2. This is, both currents are getting added at the junction, and resultant is I3. I3 is always equal to I1 plus I2. It does not depend on the angle at which these two wires are placed. Whether wires are placed like this, or if we change the angle also, the current I3 does not change. It means the sum of these two current, which is in form of current flowing through the third wire, is independent of angle between these two current directions. That's why it takes a scalar. So I1 plus I2 is equal to I3. Pardon me?
Why do we use direction?
Why do we need direction? We define what is the current direction. Does the current have a sense of direction? Yes. If you take any conductor, current could have flown in any direction. Or if you take space also, if charges are moving, if there's net charge transfer, there's a flow of charge across a cross section. First of all, I think mentally we have to reset and understand current is across a cross section. Across a cross section, charge current can flow in both ways. So is the direction important? Yes. The direction defines which direction the current charge transfer is taking place. So I hope you understand what does this mean here. Okay. So the direction, it has sense of direction. But does it obey law of vector addition? No, it does not obey law of vector addition. And for any quantity to qualify as vector, both the conditions to be met, otherwise it's not a vector. And why do we define something as a vector and a scalar? To facilitate mathematical operation on physical quantities involved. So if quantities are vector, if we have to add it up like force, we need to know the orientation of two forces. It's a vector quantity. If you have to find the result of summation, if the current is flowing, it's something like this flow of water. If two pipes are coming and two pipes join at one place, and the whatever flow was coming from two pipes goes through the third pipe. Is the water flow rate to third pipe depends on the angle at which 2 points join? Actually, it does not. So it has sense of direction of flow, but the summation of it is independent of angle between the two, and it does not follow vector addition law. That's why it's a scalar quantity. Okay. Here what we notice here, if a positive charge and negative charge move in the same direction, what is the net charge? If both charges move in the same direction, net charge is equal to difference in the charge. So for example, let's suppose a neutral object moves across a cross section. Neutral object has a lot of positive charge, a lot of negative charge. What is neutral means delta Q positive is equal to delta Q negative. If they move across, net charge is moved is zero. Why it is zero? Because positive charge, negative charge, if they move in the same direction, the effect of motion of negative charge, if it moves from A to B, it creates a current in the opposite direction. If same dq in this case, as we have seen in this case, if delta q plus is equal to minus delta q dash, what will the net current here? Net current will be zero. So what we do, if a positive negative charge move in the opposite direction, they tend to add up. If they move in the same direction, they tend to get opposite, they get subtracted. That's the point.
Sir,
I
if
think.
in the left one,
Yes.
delta Q is the positive, what will be the current, sir? It will be Q by T, suppose.
If it happens in time delta t, in delta t time, what I find, this charge plus delta q has moved from here to here. Which direction the current will be? Current is from left to right. It will be delta q by delta t. But if minus delta q time has moved from right to, this has also moved from left to right. This way the current is in the negative direction. What is the total net current? Net current will be depending on which is more. If first charge transfer is greater than negative charge transfer, it will be towards right. If negative charge transfer is greater, it will be towards left. We have to take, see, if they move in the same direction, net charge is difference in charge of magnitude. Difference in magnitude of charge.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Opposite direction, if they move, they tend to add up. It's not clear. Opposite direction, because opposite direction when they move, they tend to create current in the same direction. As simple as that. Okay. Let's take some example. So let's take a simple numerical example. In time delta t, number of alpha particles move from left to right in a discharge tube is n1. Let's say it has to flow in a wire. Charge can flow in the space. There's something called vacuum tube. Vacuum tube also charged particles like alpha particle, electrons can move. As electrons and charged particles move across a cross section, it creates a current across the cross section. In time delta t, number of alpha particles move from A to B. In a discharge tube, how many? N1 particles. And number of electrons moving from right to left is N2. So N2 number of electrons move from right to left and alpha particle from left to right. Find the average current. How do you find average current? You already have the definition. For a minute, how do you find average current in this case? Are the charges moving in the same direction or opposite direction?
Opposite, so we add them.
We have to add up. So what we'll do, we'll find out delta Q for positive charge. I'll calculate delta Q for the negative charge, add it up. Divide by time, that's how I'll get current. So I repeat the steps involved are what? I'll find out what is the net charge transfer due to positive charge. I'll net charge transfer due to negative charge. Then the opposite direction, add it up and divide by time. That's what you're going to do. Why we're going to add up? They're in the opposite direction. Very simple. So alpha particle. So what is the charge flow? Charge flow is number of particles multiplied by charge on each. Is it not? That's the charge flow. How many particles move? N1. But N1 particles carry how much charge? Each alpha particle carries a charge equal to +2. So +2 each charge into N1 particles. Thus the charge delta Q charge transfer from A to B, from left to right. Similar way, can we write charge transfer due to electron? Again, same thing. Number of charge particles into charge on each. Charge on each is minus E into which direction? From right to left, so it's B to A. So what you can do, we can change both. I can change the negative sign, I can change the direction. What we have done, this term is equivalent to charge sign has become minus E to plus E, and B to A has become equal to A to B. Okay, so that's why you can, other way you can write, and hence what is the net charge transfer? Net charge transfer is this term plus this term. I hope this step also is clear. So motion of negative charge from B to A is equal to equal positive charge moving from A to B. Okay, so what is the net charge transfer? Net charge transfer is sum of those two. We add those two terms. So this expression of net charge. And what is the current? We divide by time. That's the current. Which direction the current will flow? Current flow is from A to B. That's the direction of current, A to B, from left to right. Okay. We can take another example. In a hydrogen tube, basically it's observed that through a given cross section, so many electrons move per second from right to left, and protons move. This question is on the screen. So can you find current here? How would you find current? All of you just given a just read the question properly and find an answer similar way. Can you find an answer here? So when we look at this, are we clear which direction the positive charge is moving from? Right to left, and negative charge is moving from left to right. So it is equivalent to same amount of positive charge moving from right to left.
1 milliamp.
Both will add up. Okay. As positive and negative charge move in the opposite direction, delta Q will add up. What is the net charge? Number of charge particles into charge on each particle. So if you write those terms, what would this come to? So net charge flow, charge is E. Sorry, not this 2 and 1. I think this is something I've copied from previous, so just make a small correction here. Yeah, this is N1 only. Okay, N1. So this is charge. This is a number of positive charge particles. This is number of negative charge particles. What is this 10 to the power 15? This is number. And since the time is 1 second, whatever charge transfer is equal to current. Okay. So this is fairly simple calculation of current. How about orbiting charge? You know, in case of atomic structure, you know, the electrons also go into orbital motion. So just visualize if charge is undergoing orbital motion of radius r. Okay. If I take a cross section in its path, okay. So is the charge passing through this cross section? Yes, charge is moving across this cross section. Will it create current? Yes, it will create current. So any orbiting charge particle creates a current. It's just like a current, and across a section in its path. So let's take charge particle, charge is Q, it's orbiting with the frequency f. What is equivalent current here? If frequency is f, how much charge will pass through the cross section in 1 second? How many times the same charge particle will pass through? Frequency is 10 cycles per second. It means in 1 second, this charge particle will pass through 10 times.
10 times.
Is it not? So if charge is Q and frequency is f, what is the charge which is passing through the cross section?
FQ.
Into f. That is the current. So if we consider a small cross section in its path, the charge flow in time delta t will be equal to, so if we take in terms of time delta t, frequency is 10 in time delta t, number of times will pass through will be equal to frequency into delta t. So charge flow in time delta t will be equal to charge into number of times it will pass through, it's a frequency.
So current will be QF.
Current is QF. So current, if you divide, is QF. So what is, and if the charge is positive, if charge is moving in the clockwise direction, current will be in the clockwise direction. If charge is negative and moving in the clockwise direction, direction of current will become opposite to direction of motion of charge particle. If charge is negative, direction is opposite to direction of motion of charge particle. Okay. So let's take a simple example in case of hydrogen atom, and you know, actually they make number of revolutions, mind-boggling number. So if an electron in hydrogen atom makes 6.25 to 10 to 15 revolutions in 1 second, what is the current it will create? About which cross section? We have to create current. We have to take a section, cross section which is lying in its path. So can we create that one? So what we need here, we need charge and we need frequency. Both the things are given.
Then we'll get 1 milliamp.
We get 1 million. So current is E into frequency. This is the charge on electron, 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. Frequency is directly given, 6.25 into 10 to the power 15. I hope all of you can easily simplify this part. This comes into 1 milliampere. So which part? So you can imagine. So if I take this, if the way we think the current flowing in a wire, similar way, where is the current flowing? Current is flowing in a circular path. This orbit will behave as if this circular orbit has a current equivalent to 1 milliampere. Okay. And which direction? Since this electron is going in the clockwise direction, direction of current has to be opposite to direction of motion of electron. If electron is rotating clockwise direction of current will be anti-clockwise. I hope until this point is clear. Ravni, have you followed up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, small points only. Can we solve this question? Slight variation of the same question. Rather than giving frequency, what is given? Electron. Let's read the question here on the screen. And actually, same concept we use in case of atomic structure. So, what is electron? Is moving electron mass m. Radius is given as r. And centripetal force F is given. What is the equivalent current? Neha, how would you find equivalent current here? Can you tell me the steps involved? How would you find equivalent current here? Neha? Or okay. Let's look at somebody else. At least people will respond. Tell me. Karthikeya?
Yes, sir.
How would you calculate current here? Can you tell me steps involved in calculation of current? We need to calculate what is given. See, we have previous case we have seen current is equal to charge into its frequency.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so how do we calculate? Frequency is not given. We have to calculate current. How do you calculate frequency here? Force is given. It's undergoing circular motion.
Sir, I forgot.
Huh?
I forgot how to calculate frequency.
You forgot how to calculate frequency. Okay. Circular motion, see, force, what is F? This is centripetal force. What is centripetal force equal to? Do you remember anything, any formula about centripetal force? What is centripetal
mv
force?
square by r.
mv square by r? Or I can write as mr omega square.
Yes, sir.
So if I have omega, is omega related to frequency?
Yes, sir.
How is omega related to frequency?
2 pi by omega.
Omega by 2 pi or 2 pi by omega?
Omega by 2 pi.
Omega by 2 pi. Is it not?
Yeah.
See, when we say angular velocity is 4 pi radian per second, it means it completes 2 rotation. Frequency becomes 2. So that's what we have to. So moment this is given, can we easily solve this question? Yes. Now let's do that. So what is it's a circular motion? I have to use circular motion property. I could have written F as v square by r, or I could have written r omega square. I think it's slightly easier to write in terms of omega. And second thing we must know, frequency is omega by 2 pi, which is enough to solve this question. Can you solve this question now?
Yes, sir.
Can you get an answer now? It's very easy.
Yes, sir.
That's how every question should be. I have to find equivalent current. Equivalent current is equal to, many times start with what we need to find. Equivalent current is a charge into frequency. Charge is equal to E, current on the electron. I have to find frequency. I have to use circular motion property. So circular motion property and find what is this omega value. Omega is root of F by M. I just simply substitute. That's the answer. It was fairly simple one. Only thing what happens here, force is given. Suppose it was hydrogen atom. What would I written in place of force? If it is atomic structure, what kind of force will act?
Electrostatic force.
No, it's electrostatic force. I would have replaced F with what?
K square by
K into E square by R square. Is it not? So that becomes atomic structure model. So atomic structure also we can apply same principle, and that's what Bohr's model is. Okay. We can calculate current. So once we calculate frequency, E into F, that becomes my current. So any problem so far? Nothing. So orbiting charge also we can calculate. Let's look at next. Is the way if suppose charge passing through an area is given as function of time. What charge? Charge passing when is given, actually it implies cumulative charge. As the time goes, if the charge is moving in the same direction, charge as a function of time will keep on increasing. So if a cumulative charge passing through area is given as a function of time, I have taken one example. If Q is given as 4t square, it means time t is 0 charge, time is the charge is passed. Can we find out current as a function of time? Very easy. We can find out instantaneous current, we can find out average current. Exactly same principle what we apply in case of kinematics. If charge passing through a cross section is given as a function of time, we can find current at any instance of time We can also find out average current between two instances of time. Both can be found. Average current as well as instantaneous current. What is instantaneous current? Instantaneous current is average current is delta Q by delta T. Instantaneous value is when time tends to 0, which becomes a derivative from dQ by dt. In this case, what will the current will equal 8? What does this imply? Say current keeps increasing with time. So whenever charge passing through an area is given as a function of time, we can calculate instantaneous value of current. Okay. Similarly, if a current is given as a function of time, we calculate the charge passing through the cross section in time interval t1 and t2. Concepts are very similar to what we have done in first year. If current is given as a function of time, current, see, like in this case also, what is current? Current is equal to 8.
We integrate.
And reverse, yes, integrate. Exactly the same thing. If charge is given to find current, we have to differentiate. If current is given to find charge, we need to integrate. Why we need to integrate? Form dq. What is dq equal to? I into dt.
We send dt to the other side and integrate.
So basically, we can do that. So basically, we understand here what is current passing through an area dq. dq is equal to I into dt. I into dt is, and again, we have to find for a larger time interval, integrate I into dt over a time period t1 to t2. We can calculate charge passing. So these are simple application. I can write in terms of formula. What is it? Delta q equal to charge between time t1 and t2. I integrate I dt from which time to which time? From initial time to final time. This will be the charge which will pass through the cross section between the time interval from t1 to t2. Let's take a simple example. All of you calculate this term. This is easy question to solve.
But how will we know when
is given as a function of time? What is the charge passing through from time 0 to time t is equal to 5 seconds?
How do we know if it will be positive or negative charge?
When I is given, see, first of all, this question doesn't tell the direction. So what we understand, only thing we can tell, it is equivalent to if let's say current is moving along positive x-axis. I can only tell the positive charge is crossing from along the positive x-axis. Direction of motion of net positive charge will be same as direction of current. What we understand, how the current direction related to direction of net charge? Direction of current is same as direction of motion of positive charge. Here in this case, it is not asking direction, but we can do so. What is dq equal to? Easy. Dq, time interval is from which point to which time? I have to find charge transported from 0 to 5 seconds. So limits from 0 to 5. I as a function of time is given as 2t plus 1 dt. So integration of that becomes equal to 2t square by 2 is t square plus t. Limits from 0 to 5, lower limit, higher upper limit. We substitute this value 25 plus 5, 30 coulomb. So no problem. So this is something is basic. This is a basic property of differentiation and integration. We have used something like this b is equal to dx by dt kind of thing. Similar thing is there in terms of I and q. Everyone is okay? All understood? Yes,
sir.
Samita? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You are following? Oh, okay.
Sir, if the cross-section area changes, will the current change?
See, okay. You see something like this. There's a big pipe which the water is flowing. One way I can say what is the water flow rate through the pipe. Can I not calculate flow through a smaller area which is part of the. Can we do that? Yes. Similar way also calculate, but if there's a tube, there's something we can say always choose a smaller area and you can calculate current through that also. We'll come to some example of that. So when we talk of current, we typically means an area. But if it is carrying the current is passing through a wire which is constant cross section, then we know in a case of steady state when current is constant, whichever cross section I choose, the current will be same. But if I take a cross section which is smaller than cross section area of the conductor, will the current be same? If I take a cross section area which is smaller than cross section area of a conductor,
Current will be more.
Will be
It will be more or less. If I take a smaller area,
less.
less only, less charge will flow through. Okay. We will take some examples. That's it, that I think we'll go through as we'll look at some more examples, perhaps you'll have better clarity. We define another term called current density. And current density is a vector quantity. Let's try and understand what does current density mean. Okay. So if I have to find current density at a particular point, it's a point function. Current density, like most folks say, current density point function. So what we'll do to find current density at a particular point, we choose a small area near that point. How much is small? Negligibly small area. And which direction we choose an area which is perpendicular to direction of charge flow. To find current density, I need to know which direction the current is flowing. Unless I know in advance which direction the current charge is flowing, I have to know which direction is the charge flowing. So I have to choose an area which is perpendicular to direction of charge flow. Okay, so let's understand. So what does it mean? So current is something like this. Suppose I have to find current density at this point. What I need to know first, which direction is the charge flowing? Which direction is the positive charge flowing? Suppose this is the direction in which the current is flowing, or positive charge is flowing. How should I choose the area? It should be perpendicular to direction of current. I choose an area which is like this. So that I choose an area such that normal to the area is along the direction of current. Okay. So if the current through area is, so if I choose a small area, some current will pass through this area. If current passing through this area is delta I, current density is equal to current by area, current per unit area. That's a current density. So current density is current per unit area, but which area? Area must be perpendicular to direction of motion of charge particle. Area must be perpendicular to direction of current.
Okay.
Yes.
Why is area written as delta A?
See, if I am taking a point, I am not changing a big area. I want to find at a point function. What I do is to calculate current density, how much has to be area when I have written di by dA area. If I change a larger area, it will not represent current flow at that point. It will start representing current flow over a wider area. Are you understanding the difference between the two? If the area is negligibly small, then only it indicates charge flow in the region of point P. If I make this area larger, does it represent charge flow around the point P only?
If you make it larger, then it won't represent charge flow.
So just to make, so I want to measure charge density near the point P only. So what I do near the point P, I make the area as small as possible. And that's why we written what is J. We are not written delta I by delta I. I have written di by dA.
Di by dA.
Di by dA. Then only represent the charge flow in that area. If the current is different in different parts, that's the definition of current density. So I think to understand, see, some of the definition, these are like definitions, and you need to understand each part of the definition. How we define current density is a vector quantity. It's a point function. What I know first at that point, there is a charge flow, there is a current. First, I need to know the current direction in the region of point P. I take a small area. Which direction should I take an area? I should take an area such that area is perpendicular to current direction. And how should be this? What should be the size of area? Negligibly small. So if I take ratio of, if they have the current, see, ratio of current by area gives me current density, and it represents current density in the region of point P, di by dA. Hi Shreya, have you understood anything about current density? Hi Shreya.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what you understood. First thing, what should come to mind? Current density.
It's a vector quantity.
It's a vector quantity at a point. Yes. So, what is that equal to?
That is equal to the.
I can say even di by dA. It is equal to di by dA, but how should the area be taken? Area should be perpendicular to direction of current. Right? If we change the area, if it is not perpendicular to current, what will happen? Current density will reduce or increase. Suppose I take an area which is surfaces along the direction of current. What is the current density, Shashriya? if I take an area which is along the direction of current. One is this is if the current is going like this, I can take an area which is perpendicular to current. I can take an area like this. First of all, if this area, will it qualify the density, definition of current density? No, it will not qualify current density. But suppose I have to calculate what is the current per unit area. If current is flowing like this, area is in the same direction. What is the current density in this case? Is any current passing through this area? Both are along the same direction? No current is passing. Current will pass through only when, because this is something similar to flux. Is this something similar to flux? Okay, so current density is di by dA, and area should be taken perpendicular to direction of current flow, and that gives you current density. What will happen if the current is uniform? Uniform is every point the current is same. Then this quantity di by dA is equal to I by area when it is uniform. But all points, if we take a larger area, all points of the charge density is same. So charge density at a point, sorry, current density at a point is same at any point on the area. If it is uniform, it can be taken as I by A. So the reverse way, if I take what is the di equal to? Di equal to dA into dA, area is perpendicular. What happens? Area is not perpendicular. In that case, I have to take the component of area which is perpendicular to direction of current. That's why I have to take a dot product. So current through an area which is not perpendicular to current density. What is current through an area which is not perpendicular to current density? I have to take a component of area perpendicular to J. What is component of area vector perpendicular to J? It's a cos theta. That's why there's a dot product. Understood why there's a dot product here? This area, when I define calculate current density, area is perpendicular. If I want to calculate what is current through any area which is not necessarily perpendicular to current density vector, in that case, which I have to take the component of area perpendicular to J vector. What is component? If angle this area makes an angle theta with J vector, I have to take dot product. So what will happen here? If area is perpendicular to J vector, the current through the area will become 0, which makes sense. Okay, and current. Let's take example of current density. So what you understood? So current density. If current flowing through area of this is the you have a circular cross section. Radius is A, and current density through this cross section. Current is flowing perpendicular to the area, but current density varies as this function. Current density is A into R. Find the current through the wire. How do you find current through the wire? So all of you read the question carefully. Try to think how do you calculate current through the wire. Current per unit area is given. So anything per unit is given. If current by area is given, how do I find current? I have to multiply current per unit area by area. Is it not? Had the current density been uniform, current per unit area been uniform, straight away I would have multiplied by total area. But it's not uniform. So I cannot multiply this. Had it been constant, had it been uniform, I would have multiplied by area. But here this density is not uniform. I have to multiply by area, but I have to only choose an area for which current density is constant. What kind of area current density is constant? Since current density varies as a distance from the center or axis, I will choose a circular ring-shaped area which is at the constant distance. What kind of ring? Radius is R, thickness is dr, or I can say inner radius is R, outer radius is dr. So for this portion, the shaded portion, I can assume the current density to be constant, and current density is perpendicular to area. Thus, cos theta is equal to 1. So if I calculate current through, consider elemental area bound between ring of radius R, inner radius is R, outer radius R plus dr. So current density can be considered to be constant over this area. The angle between them is 0. Current density also is perpendicular, area vector also perpendicular. So what is the current flowing through this area? Di is equal to J into dA, cos theta is equal to 1. And what is J here? J is equal to some constant into R. And what is this small area? We have done it earlier also. Area is equal to the length into width. length is perimeter 2 pi r into dr. So this is the current through this small area. What is the total current through the entire circular cross section? Add it up and over entire cross section. We'll add it up by process of integration, r varying from 0 to capital R. So that's the current over entire cross sectional area of a wire. Jaideep,
Yes, sir.
understood so far?
Yes, sir.
They are pretty simple terms, mostly definitions, and there are not many questions also. They are simple things, they are not variety of applications. There are mostly questions on these topics are direct only, and not many questions come, but still we need to understand every topic, we need to understand whatever questions come, we should be able to answer through current density. Okay. So if you
Yes,
understood,
yes,
let's see this previous question. Anybody has not understood this part? No, have you followed?
The units are not matching, right?
When we talk about this term here, when we write, is it a, see something we had not done units, is it a dimensionless constant? Some certain quantities called it is not dimensionless term. It also will have some dimension. It also will have some units.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so that's part. So that's why it is not matching. Okay. So like when we write a k term, we write force is equal to kq square by r square.
K
Is
has
k
some-
dimensionless? No, k is not
It's not.
dimensionless. This also we have to calculate dimension, and when it substitute dimension, it will match. Okay. Can we solve this question? The simple question. Electron beam has aperture. Aperture means cross-sectional area. So total so many electrons go through in one direction only. What is the current and what is the current density in the beam? All of you just solve it. Okay. So electrons have random velocity like gas atom. And if there are numerous of them, typically what is the number? Number of, even if you take a small volume, numbers are more than billions. What is the average velocity of all the free electrons? We take it together, average velocity comes to 0. They're all random direction. There's no preferential direction. Every direction there's equal probability having velocity. And if, as we have seen, in case of suppose there are 6 vectors, all vectors, 6 vectors are equally have equal spacing or equal angular spacing with each other. All of them add up to 0. Here there are numerous of them. Average velocity due to random velocity in absence of electric field is 0. If we take 10 to the power 20 electrons are there, each one of them has at instant certain velocity. If you take vector sum of the velocity, all vector sum velocity will come to 0. And it comes precisely to 0 if numbers are larger. Actually, for a very large number, mathematical models work very precisely. So it will, if we truly can calculate, if you can truly calculate instantaneous velocity of all free electrons, take a vector sum of all, it will come to 0 in absence of electric field. Because there's no preferential direction. It has equal probability to move in every possible direction. And what happens to ions? Ions, they vibrate about the mean position, and their amplitude depends on temperature. As the temperature increases, energy increases, amplitude also changes. If temperature becomes 4 times, if the temperature becomes 4 times, energy becomes 4 times, amplitude becomes double. And there also
electrons moving in all directions is when they're not connected to a potential, right?
yes, if they're not connected to any potential, there's no field. There's no preferential direction. You understand
So
what
there's
is
no current also.
no preferential? I mean, this every direction is same. Actually, having velocity in any particular direction has equal probability. So they are distributed all over. That's called truly random velocity. Truly random velocity, no preferential velocity. If we add up all the velocities at an instance, it will come to 0. But the moment you apply electric field, this thing changes. Now, see, that's what you need to understand. So until field is applied, unless potential difference is applied, these are two things. Lattice ions are oscillating. Electrons are having random velocity depending on the temperature. Okay. What is happening? These free electrons undergo collision with the lattice, which alters the velocity. So they keep moving in the straight path until they suffer a collision. Why they keep moving in straight path? There's no force acting and there's no field. And if there are no force, no field, they keep moving the constant velocity. And when we undergo a collision, then velocity changes. So what is changing velocity? The collision is changing the velocity. Until then, they keep moving in a straight path with a high speed. What happens the moment you have to apply electric field? Moment you apply electric field, or we apply potential difference is electric into T, or potential gradient is field, the electrons start experiencing constant acceleration. They start experiencing constant force and constant acceleration. What is the force on the free electron? Charge into field. This is the force minus E into E bar. Divided by mass, this is acceleration they start experiencing. And direction of acceleration is opposite to direction of the field. So now we can view the velocity as two parts. Its velocity, there's a random part, which can be in any direction. In addition, now there's a other velocity component due to field. So let's call is the velocity of electron can be viewed as vector sum of random component plus a non-random component. Non-random component is coming because of field. Let me call this random component VR. Let me call this velocity as V dash. There are two velocities. Random velocity, average will always come to 0. How about V dash component? Will it be same? Will the direction of V dash be same for all electrons, or V dash will be different?
Yeah, according to the field direction.
So if we apply a field in a pulse, suppose there's a conductor, we apply a field. Field is in one particular direction. Since the field is in a particular direction, all V dash also will be in the same direction, unlike random velocity. Are you getting this point? So random velocity, just see, but this is something, this kind of figure is normally given, and I think this looks pretty simple. See, this is a part. See, suppose this is an electron here. It starts from A. What is shown from here? Blue line, it goes. And why this, again, the line direction has changed here? What does this point indicate?
Collision.
Collision.
And so moment it undergoes collision, after collision, it can have again new random direction. From here it moves. And what do you know? As you undergo, since the particles, the distance also may keep varying. So as every collision, it has random direction, it keeps moving like this. Okay. So it has, and over a period of time, you find even after a large period of time, though the actual distance traveled may be quite large, but it's the displacement from initial position may be negligible. Okay. The moment you apply field, what will happen? The dotted line indicates the effect of application of field. See that what happens. Which direction the force will act? Field is applied towards right. Force will start acting towards right. So what will happen? The particle which was moving in a straight path earlier. Actually, this figure I have taken from NCERT book, but this figure also they're not drawn very correctly. But in addition to that path, also it will also, just like what we do in case of two-dimensional motion. What happens in case of two-dimensional motion? This acceleration. So because of, in addition to random motion, why this path is slightly deviating towards right? No, rather than reaching this point, this slight deviation.
Velocity due to field.
No, it is acquiring velocity in which direction? In the direction of force. And so here, okay. The moment it comes and strikes here, what is the important point here? So it has acquired, in addition to random velocity, some other velocity V dash in the direction of acceleration, direction of force. But the moment it had a collision, again its velocity becomes random. So again, after this point, again it has a random velocity. Then after, as it start moving, again it start developing non-random component. So when does it develop non-random component? Between two collisions, it has acted upon by a constant acceleration. It develops non-random component. Okay. The moment it has a collision, again this velocity becomes random. Moment it has collision, after every collision, velocity gets completely randomized. That's what the motion happening. Okay. And due to this motion, so again, so every time the drift is happening, every motion, which side is drifted from here, it is drifted towards right. Again, this figure is not, again, it will drift towards right. Finally, what will happen after some time, if this was the position, it would have ended up without field. It tends to move towards right. So it will appear as if it is drifting. That's called a drift velocity. Effect of application of field is electron will exhibit a drift velocity in the direction opposite to direction of field. It tends to drift in the direction opposite to direction of field. And that's a drift velocity. So what we understand in terms of, let's look at this. So here, what is the drift non-random velocity? V dash. At this point, V dash is 0. What will happen as we go to this point? V dash is what happening? V dash. V dash keeps on increasing. Soon after this point, again at this point, what is V dash? Soon after collision. What will V dash at this point? Non-random component. Soon after collision. If I take 2 points, 1 point close to A and a little further away. What does V dash depend on? Non-random V dash keep increasing with time since collision. Does this statement make sense? What is V dash equal to? Acceleration into time. Time measured from where? Time measured, see, when is time measured from? Last collision. The moment it has collision, again is because velocity, non-random velocity becomes 0. So is this statement clear? Each statement gets completely randomized. V dash becomes 0 after each collision. What is V dash at any instance equal to? V dash any instance equal to V is equal to AT. What is A we understood? What is T here? T is time since last collision. Time since last collision. So again at this point, soon after this point, what is the V dash? Soon after this point, V dash becomes 0. It is collision has happened. From here as it moves, V dash keeps increasing as the time keeps increasing. Again after collision, what happens to V dash? Again V dash becomes 0. Okay, Gayatri,
Yes, sir.
are you following something about drift velocity?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, what have you followed?
Sir, in random velocity, in the random velocity, the velocity is 0 due to the random direction in the absence of electric field.
So average result of random velocity is 0. Average velocity due to random component is 0. Okay, that's one point. Second thing, then, in addition to random velocity, it also acquires, if we apply a field, it also develops a drift velocity. Are you following? At any instance, what would drift velocity depends on? Moment it has collision. Again, the drift velocity, whether the velocity non-random component is acquired, it has become random. So non-random component is equal to AT. What is the time? What is T here? What is the term T here? V dash is equal to AT, acceleration into time. What is the time we talk about here? Time T is time since last collision. This part is understood.
Okay, yes, sir.
Time since last collision.
Last
Why you think is time since last collision? The moment there is collision, it becomes 0. So what is happening in this case? You just look at this. What is velocity? It is getting accelerated. Collision, it becomes again 0. Again gets accelerated. Collision, again becomes 0. Again gets accelerated. Again becomes 0. That's what is happening to this non-random velocity. Is that following it?
Yes, sir.
So if we take, so if I take the number of particles, how many? Let's assume they are 10 to the power 20 electrons. So if I find average of random velocity, it comes to 0. What is the average of drift velocity? How do you find average of drift velocity? Let's write that one. Average of VR is 0. It does not contribute to net charge flow. But what is the average of non-random part of drift velocity? How would I write? Average of VT, it depends on the time since its last collision T. So V dash is equal to A into T is the time since the last collision. If I take its average, what is the average value? Mean value of V dash is 1 by 10 into V dash. I'm taking average of all this. Here I'm not taking vector sum. Why I'm not taking vector sum here? I have not written vector sum. I have written just V dash.
The direction is same.
All are in the same
direction.
What we take when we take mean value of V dash, all are in the same direction. Yes, so I take, if they are 10 to power each one I find out what the V dash is, divide by n, that becomes my velocity. So this is, and what is V dash? A into T. So if I take average value of T, it's called tau. What is this term tau here? Is mean time since last collision. So if I take, if one particle has time 0.1 microsecond since last collision, second particle may have 1.2 microseconds since last collision, one particle may have 0.1 microsecond since last collision. If I take average of all those 2 points, all those time value of time since last collision, I get mean time since last collision. That's called relaxation time. So what is drift velocity equal to? Acceleration into tau, tau being the mean time since last collision. Okay. Mean time since last collision. So what is drift velocity equal to? Average velocity of electron, A into tau. That's a drift velocity. So it will appear, so in terms of all will have different velocity, but at a macroscopic level, if I take what is the average result? Average result is, it will appear as if all free electrons are having a velocity equal to what? A into tau. All electrons at a macro level will appear to be moving with the velocity equal to A into tau. Which direction? In the direction opposite to field. It will be in the same direction. Is this understood? Disha?
Yes, sir.
Have you understood this term tau?
Yes, sir.
So each particle had a collision. So every time we set the watch as 0, again it starts acquiring non-random velocity after the collision. This is the term. If you understand tau, I think the rest of things are simple. This is drift velocity. So macroscopic level, I can assume all electrons are moving with the velocity equal to drift velocity. And drift velocity, this term, does it change with time if you apply a constant field? So Disha, since you said you have understood, will this drift velocity change with time or will it remain constant?
Constant.
It remains constant. That's the point. So it will remain constant. Okay, it remains constant. Suppose I increase the temperature. Increase the temperature. What will happen? The random velocity will increase. Change of temperature, do you think it should affect your tau value?
The tau value won't change.
Think of it. What will happen? See, earlier the temperature was lesser. It used to, suppose it had taken some time to reach from here to here. What happens if I increase the temperature?
Kinetic energy is increasing, the velocity is increasing.
So tau will decrease.
Tau will decrease. Tau will decrease. Very good. Some of you got this point. This part, this is important. But what happens? We start moving faster. What will happen? The collision also start happening at a shorter interval. The mean time between collision also will change. Richa, have you followed this point?
Yes, sir.
So it will be a new constant, but that constant will be lower than previous constant if it started moving faster. Spacing between ions are same. If electrons are moving faster, they will have collision at more frequent interval. So it will, rather than having speed, otherwise they were accelerating like this and like this. If frequent amount, it will accelerate for shorter period of time, again becomes zero. Accelerate for shorter period of time, again zero. So drift velocity also will reduce. Okay. Shweta, are you there? Shweta? No response?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you understood this term tau? Have you understood term tau? What have you understood about tau? Nothing, Shweta? Okay. Bhagishri, what have you understood? Bhagishri? I think. Okay, let me ask. Tejas, what have you understood?
So generally, tau is the mean time since last collision, and tau will be dependent on temperature generally.
Why it will be dependent on temperature? Can you explain why it will be dependent? The mean time since last collision. Okay.
Yeah, because if temperature increases, the kinetic energy will increase. So the velocity of the electrons will increase. So the collisions will occur in lesser time than that of before.
Very good. Very nicely explained. You have given all the points properly. I hope all of you followed. So this is something a key part is understanding tau. Though there is a constant acceleration acting, still the average velocity remains same. A constant acceleration, but again it becomes velocity becomes zero on each collision. This is something which is result is really surprising. Despite a constant acceleration, velocity remains constant. because the word constant acceleration is not correct. But every collision, there's some again acceleration acting. So macroscopic level, all electrons will appear to be moving with a constant velocity equal to drift velocity. If all electrons seem to be moving in one direction, that gives rise to current. If they're moving in random direction, that's not giving to current. Now all are moving in the same direction with the velocity equal to A into tau. Tau will depend on the intermolecular spacing or interatomic spacing as well as the temperature. What would tau depend on? Tau would depend on the temperature, kinetic energy of a free electron, and the interatomic spacing. That's a property of the material. It's a property of the material as well as temperature. Tau will depend on what? Tau will depend on what? Which terms? Intermolecular spacing or interatomic spacing, and the kinetic energy of the free electron. So it's a property of temperature. It depends on temperature as well as atomic, how you call lattice structure, arrangement of atoms and molecules, how far apart they are. Okay. So that's a okay. And velocity we can relate it to current at a macroscopic level. So summary of this, whatever discussion we had at a macroscopic level, all free electrons could be considered to be moving the constant velocity equal to drift velocity. And what is drift velocity? It's easy to remember. Drift velocity is acceleration into tau. Tau is a property of material as well as temperature. These are 3 points which are summary of what we discussed in last 10-15 minutes. What is summary? At a macroscopic level, all free electrons could be considered to be moving with a constant velocity equal to drift velocity. What is drift velocity equal to? Drift velocity is acceleration into time. Which time? Many times since last collision. We know acceleration. Acceleration is force by mass. E into capital E by m is acceleration. Tau is something, it depends on, is something which cannot be calculated. It has to be given.
So like from drift velocity, we can get current, right?
Yes, that's what here. Once we have drift velocity, we can get current. Very rightly said. Once we have drift velocity, that's what we are going to do tomorrow, and we'll understand what causes current, which factors affect current, and once we understand current also, we'll understand what makes current more, what makes current less. See, suppose we apply same voltage, the current is not equal. Some material current is more, some material current is less. What is making current more? Here itself we understood, if drift velocity is more, what will happen? Current also will be more. But there are some other factors also which what we'll understand. So once we understood what is happening at a microscopic level, we have taken a macroscopic view of things happening at microscopic level. At a macroscopic understanding of things happening at a small level is that because of field, they have random motion, which doesn't affect, which will result in zero average velocity, no current. But the moment you apply field, in addition to random motion also, there is some systematic motion also. There is something that acquires a drift velocity opposite
so because
to
of that, what's supposed to be acceleration is just velocity.
Because velocity. So how do you visualize this motion? Suppose you have a car, you accelerate the car, immediately every 10 meter you have to stop. If you have a constant acceleration of car, but every 10 meters you have to stop, what kind of motion will you have? You will have a constant velocity. Are you following this point? Suppose you have a car which can have constant acceleration, but you have to start every 10 meters you have a collision, velocity becomes zero. Again accelerate, again becomes zero. What is that 10 meter equivalent to here? 10 meter, what you're talking car also is equivalent to time, distance between one atom to the other, average distance. That's why you end up with a constant velocity. And so tomorrow we'll understand how do we convert velocity into current. How do we relate those terms? That's the part for tomorrow. So today evening work session, I think yesterday's part was acting on the dielectric. That part will complete. And there's one or two other very typical questions on charge flow. That also I'll do today. So, those who have some simpler questions, so first I think 20-25 minutes I'll finish this part. Force acting on dielectric. Force acting on the dielectric is very specific topic. I think so far means no question has come, but basic thing I think result what we get, it's all of you can understand. So I'll share that those who can follow it completely better, but if you don't follow, not to worry too much. It's a little complex, a little lengthy, and result alone is suffice for most cases. We'll do that part and some portion on charge for it. Okay, we'll stop here. I think almost here. So we'll continue in the evening. So thank you very much. So this is a session on current electricity. This is also a long topic. It will continue for almost a month. I think we've not made a detailed schedule, but it will take about a month or maybe a little more. And from exam point of also, it's a